Brought to you by Penguin.
Dear Dolly, written and read by me, Dolly Alderton. Introduction. I was at an all-time low when I decided I wanted to try to fix everyone else's problems. My head was a mess and my heart was broken. It was one of those years where every month brought a new sadness, an annus horribilis, I think they call it. And, in a mean-spirited move from fate, my bad year also coincided with the bad year, 2020. The most horribilis of all the annuses. During that time, I pitched myself as an agony aunt to my editor at the Sunday Times Style. In my 20s, I'd written a weekly dating column for the magazine, a fact that occasionally knocks down the door on my subconscious in the middle of the night and wakes me up in a cold sweat. But it remains one of the best job opportunities I've ever been given. And 26 to 28 years old is the perfect time for a person to comfortably narrate their own life for entertainment. It is the sweet spot of exhibitionism, where your lack of self-awareness makes for main character syndrome capers, counterbalanced with just enough self-awareness to make jokes about them. I finished the column, wrote a memoir about my 20s, then closed up shop for the serialisation of my personal life. I'd finally shared enough. This briefly left me in a journalistic no man's land. Having written a memoir, people wanted me to continue to insert myself in stories, even when my presence was completely irrelevant to the subject matter. Editors would commission me to write about people, places and things under the pretense of being a neutral observer, then inevitably ask me to crowbar references to my personal life into the copy. During this time, I could have interviewed Barack Obama, and I would have seen, perhaps you could write here about how your story is similar to his. Does your dating life have any parallels with his time in office? Does he remind you of an ex-boyfriend, etc.? In the notes from any editor. Which, of course, I understood. I was the one who'd insisted on telling everyone about my life. No one had asked that of me in the first instance. I did try to write a first-person column that included hardly any present-day detail about my life in any intimate way. But the thing that makes a first-person column interesting is the admission of the writer's flaws, mistakes and disasters, so this was challenging to say the least. I was also not an opinion columnist. My skin is too thin, my mind too changeable, and my courage too paltry. So, with no personal life or public opinions for material, this left me with very little to write about, other than general enthusiastic musings about things I liked, or mealy-mouthed non-rants about things I didn't like, cushioned with self-conscious caveats. One of my friends called this sort of gentle, forgettable column writing, "I changed the batteries in my remote control journalism." I did not want this to become my legacy. But I had always wanted to be an agony aunt. In my adolescence, I would buy teen magazines and immediately skip to the problem pages. Sex was discussed in my house, I imagine much more than it would have been for boomers, the last victims of Victorian parenting. But there were no specifics. Instead, it was couched in the vagaries of baby-making and tingly feelings and when you care about someone very much. This was not enough for me. I needed more. Problem pages were my salvation. My perverted eyes would dart over the pages looking for key words: virginity, masturbation, discharge. I took these tips and passed them off as my own, becoming the playground sexual Yoda. I would vastly exaggerate my own experiences and give counsel to girls my own age and older. One of my biggest regrets is that I found childhood and adolescence such a humiliating place to be. When I read my teenage diaries now, I recognise how much I was lying to the page because I was so embarrassed about how young I was. I speak wearily of sex, like I'm bored of it, when I hadn't even been touched. I note the number of calories and cigarettes I consumed that day like a jaded divorcee. I wished away my life, unaware I was the proprietor of a material more valuable than gold. Youth. I wanted no part in it for my entire childhood.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?